Welcome to day 148 of 66 and 26 as we begin week 22 of our journey to read through all 66 books of the Bible in 2026. We're back in the book of Exodus today, chapters 31 to 34, where we see the devastating reality of the sinfulness of the Israelites who have come out of Egypt in slavery and have been rescued by God. They've been given the commandments of the Lord. 12 or 13 chapters before what we're reading today, the people of Israel had said, all these things that the Lord has said, we will do it. And here we find the Israelites doing just the opposite. In fact, they take the good gifts that God has given and they twist it to evil purposes, to sinful purposes. So in the beginning of what we're reading this week, Exodus chapter 31, God tells Moses that he's giving certain men to be craftsmen to work with the gold and the silver and the fabrics and the stones and all that they need to build the tabernacle and all the furnishings and all that the Israelites will need for their journey to the promised land. And as soon as Moses goes up on the mountain to meet with the Lord, then these craftsmen and all the rest of the Israelites take the gold that has been given to them and they throw it in the fire and they craft a golden calf. They craft a false image, an idol that is meant to represent the Lord, but God had said, do not make for yourselves any graven images. And here they've made a graven image that does not really represent the Lord at all, a golden calf. And it raises the anger of the Lord, and it magnifies the truth that a holy God cannot dwell with sinful people without destroying them. When we hear God actually explain that to Moses even, and what we find then is Moses being elevated as a mediator between God and the people because they're so sinful and he is so set apart and holy, and sinful people and holy God do not mix well. So Moses is made a mediator. Now Moses is able to meet with God and meet with the people. His face is radiant when he comes off the mountain and he talks with the people, and they're afraid because he's really reflecting the glory of the Lord. And until he goes back up on the mountain, he has to veil his face because the glory of God is actually shining through Moses because he was in his presence, but not fully in his presence. We actually see in these chapters where God says, man cannot see me and live. And so Moses sees, if you will, the backside of God as he passes by, but not fully face to face. We know a mediator that is God himself and lives in the very presence of God, and who comes to us in Jesus Christ to rescue us from our sins so that we ourselves might be allowed to come into the presence of the Lord. And there will be one day when we will be allowed to see God face to face in all his holiness, because Jesus has taken away our sin, not just mediating for us, which he does, but actually making the way for us to be able to come into the presence of the Lord. And so in the reality of the sinfulness of the Israelites that we see in these chapters and God's mercy and grace, we rejoice that we have been given an even greater mediator who allows us to come into the very presence of the Lord.